and welcome to Genesis Spirit of Women Digest This, our annual weight management and diabetes program. Tonight, our program will feature Dr. Ijaz from Genesis Endocrinology. He will give us information on how healthy eating and better nutrition play an essential role in preventing and controlling disease. Then we have a special cooking segment from our Genesis Diabetes Nutrition and Education Services team. They're going to prepare an assortment of easy-to-make healthy recipes that anyone can make at home. Along the way, we'll be sharing valuable information about healthy foods and some health symptoms you should know. Also, be sure to add your name in the comments during the program to let us know you're watching, and we'll draw names at the end of our program for door prizes from our Spirit of Women business partners. We'll announce our winners in a separate post following the program, and we'll contact the winners via Facebook Messenger. Let's get started with Nick Rhine, Physician Services. Welcome back to the program, Nick.
Hello everyone, I'm happy to be here with you tonight. Throughout one's life, food and drink choices can make a big difference in our overall health. Tonight's program is with Dr. Ijaz and Genesis Diabetes Nutrition and Education Services. It will focus on healthy eating and good nutrition basics and highlight the importance of limiting unhealthy foods. Dr. Ijaz is a board-certified endocrinologist. He completed his fellowship in endocrinology, diabetes, and metabolism at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences in Little Rock. He completed his internal medicine residency at St. Barnabas Hospital in Bronx, New York. Dr. Ijaz has been with Genesis Endocrinology since 2009. Welcome to the program, Dr. Ijaz.
Thank you, Nick. I'm glad to be here.
I'm sure you have all heard the old saying, you are what you eat. What should we be eating every day to reduce our risk of disease?
Yeah, Nick, diet plays a huge role in preventing chronic diseases. Generally, we should be eating more vegetables and fruits. We should be eating a variety of fruits and vegetables to make it more interesting. Various fruits and vegetables provide a lot of nutrients. We should not peel off the skin from vegetables and fruits because they provide a lot of fibers. We should be eating whole grains as opposed to refined flours. We should be eating skinless poultry, fish. We should try to avoid trans fats. We should try to avoid butters and shortening, and instead we should substitute it with olive oil and canola oil. We should also try to avoid canned foods. For example, canned vegetables have a lot of salt and canned fruits have added sugars, so we should try to avoid those. So eating more vegetables and fruits, eating more fish, skinless poultry, lean meat can prevent a lot of chronic diseases.
Dr. Ijaz, does this hold true if you have diabetes?
Yeah, this kind of diet is very good for diabetic patients too. If we eat this kind of diet, we can prevent our sugars from going too high, we can lower our blood pressure and cholesterol and prevent heart conditions. So yeah, this kind of diet is perfect for diabetic patients.
Thank you, Dr. Ijaz. We have all known there are foods we really should avoid. What do you recommend we should remove from our diet?
Yeah, there are several kind of foods we should avoid regardless if we have diabetes or if we don't have diabetes. For example, we should not be using sugary carbonated drinks. These drinks have a lot of sugar, they have no nutritional value, they can increase your sugar significantly, they can increase your cholesterol and triglycerides, and they are playing a huge role in the current epidemic of obesity. They can cause heart diseases and so many different problems. Too much sugar can cause insulin resistance. It plays a role in non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and it can cause many other chronic conditions. So we should avoid those sugary drinks. Another group of foods which we need to avoid are fried foods. Fried foods can increase your bad cholesterol, it can decrease your good cholesterol, it can cause obesity, it plays a role in causing type 2 diabetes, it's bad for the heart, and it can increase your cholesterol significantly. Another group of foods which we need to avoid are cakes, pastries, muffins, donuts, and those kind of foods. They have a lot of refined flour, refined sugars, trans fats, and all these ingredients can increase your sugars, increase your cholesterol, and cause various chronic conditions.
These foods are tasty, but they have almost no essential nutrients and too much sugar and fat, leading to poor health outcomes. I know these things can seem impossible to avoid when fast food restaurants surround us. What do you suggest we do to start making changes in our diet?
It's a very good question, Nick. Yeah, it's very difficult to change our habits, especially dietary habits, and to change the diet to which we have been used for decades. So to start with, I would work on my shopping list. When we go to a grocery store, we should not buy stuff that may be tempting or that may be like but it's unhealthy. We should not bring those kind of foods to our home, because if we have those foods at home, our family members would be tempted to eat those. We should try to do more online shopping, use shopping apps, and try to use grocery pickup services. That way we can avoid to look at the foods that are unhealthy but which are delicious and which we may want to eat, and then limit our shopping list. Another important thing is limiting our food portions. In recent years, food portions have increased significantly in size. During infancy, humans stop eating when they are full. As we grow old, we get used to the large portion sizes. If we have more food in front of us, psychologically we keep on eating even if we are full. And eating large portion sizes can contribute to diabetes, high cholesterol, obesity, and various conditions. We should also try to cook more at home instead of going out. If we are going out and eating out, then we should be limiting our portion size, and we should be sharing meals with our friends or family. So these are a few foods which we need to avoid.
Thank you, Dr. Ijaz. For people with diabetes, finding a snack or treats that are low in carbs and added sugar can be a challenge. What do you suggest for them?
Diabetic patients should eat snacks that are high in proteins and fibers and low in carbohydrates. Examples of such snacks would be apple, pears, dark chocolate, hard-boiled eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, fruit bowls. These kind of foods will make you satisfied and your sugars will not increase too much. So I strongly suggest these kind of snacks for diabetic patients.
Also, it can be hard when dining out to make good meal choices. Any suggestions of how people with diabetes should navigate eating out?
Yeah, so diabetics should still enjoy pleasures of life, such as dining out, as long as they follow certain tips. So I'll give you a few tips which you should use when you are dining out. Now, many diabetics use injectable medicines or pills in relation to meals, before or after meals. So you should try to avoid long waits at the restaurants, try to make a reservation before you go, try to select your meal from online menus before you go. Once you go there, now many restaurants offer lunch menus or small portion meals, so try to order those lunch menus, try to share a meal with your friend or family, order a to-go box in the beginning and put a portion of your meal in the box to be eaten later. Try to avoid ordering meals that are high in salt and sugar. Do not order fried food, instead order broiled or baked food. If there is a side dish such as French fries, try to substitute it with vegetables. Limit alcohol and sugary drinks. Try to avoid desserts. Now we also have a flyer that has all these different tips which you can look at, and that will help definitely with dining out.
Thank you, Dr. Ijaz. I know I needed to be reminded of these tips. I'm going to start with adding more veggies to the shopping list and no soda.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure to be here.
To learn more about Genesis Endocrinology, call us at 740-586-6690 or visit us on the web at genesishcs.org. Next, Olivia Barclay and Sean Beach from Genesis Diabetes Nutrition and Education Services will prepare an assortment of easy-to-make, healthy recipes. Welcome, Olivia and Sean.
Thanks, Nick. We're happy to be here. We're going to share some easy and healthy recipes that everyone can make. Our first recipe is a baked apple with cherries and almonds. This recipe serves 6, and the ingredients you need for this delicious recipe are 1/3 cup dried cherries chopped, 3 tablespoons of almonds chopped, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar firmly packed, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/8 teaspoon nutmeg, 6 small gala apples, 1/2 cup of apple juice, 1/4 cup of water, 2 tablespoons of honey, and 2 teaspoons of coconut oil.
Okay, so to start with, we're going to preheat the oven to 350, and then we're going to, in a small bowl, we're going to start mixing together the ingredients. Yeah, we're going to put cherries, the almonds, the brown sugar, yeah, cinnamon, and the nutmeg. And just mix those up until they're well blended. And after they're blended, we're going to set them aside while we get the apples ready. So we can leave the apples unpeeled if you want. We've already got a bunch of them prepared, but what you'll do here is you'll just cut the apples into small portions. They'll bake evenly if they're all about the same size. And we're just going to get rid of these cores. And you can have the apples either with the peels up or the peels down. They're all going to be, as long as they're about the same size and distributed fairly evenly on the bottom of the pan, they're going to all bake up evenly. We'll add the dry ingredients first. And then we have some wet ingredients to add. Get another small bowl. We're using coconut oil in this recipe. I get a lot of questions about what type of oil is the best oil to use. What I usually try to tell people is so that they're not getting so down into the details of which particular oil, canola versus olive oil versus coconut oil is the best. My advice is normally just stick to a plant-based oil or an oil that is going to be liquid at room temperature. We usually see an oil that is solid at room temperature as being high in saturated fat, and we're going to look for unsaturated fats. And any oil that's liquid at room temperature is going to be an unsaturated fat. And choosing between canola versus olive versus coconut oil is really getting into some details that aren't going to help you stay focused on the main thing, which is just eliminating as much saturated fat from your diet as possible. So we've got the wet ingredients coming together. Drizzle them fairly evenly over the apples, but they're going to have plenty of time in the oven to mix together. The liquid is going to help distribute the sugar around. And depending on how that looks, you can move them around a little bit. Wrapping them with the aluminum foil will help keep there from being too much browning on any part of the apples, because with sugar, it can burn easily. And with the liquid trapped in there, it will just help kind of steam the apples. So we're going to put those into the oven, 350-degree oven for 50 to 60 minutes. Check an apple with a fork or the tip of a knife to make sure it's tender before you pull them out. That's the sign they're done. And Olivia has one ready to go. All right, Olivia, let's give this a try. A little for you. I'm going to try the cherries. What do you think?
I think it's really good.
It is a little sweet. If somebody wanted to, I wouldn't be. You could probably go lower on the brown sugar or the apple juice, whichever, or the even the honey, whichever sweet component that you're not. You maybe can give a little on. You could do that because it's pretty sweet.
I think it's good.
You like it?
Yeah.
Well, Olivia would keep all of the sweetener in there.
We have the links to the recipes in the comments section so you can print and make them at home. One great way to keep your diet and meals on the healthy track is to plan a week ahead. We suggest not only preparing your grocery shopping list, but also planning out your weekly meals. We have attached a weekly meal planning form for you to download in the comments below. Next, we have something great for the holidays. we have a glazed turkey breast with fruit stuffing. This recipe is great because it's low in carbs and does not use bread as the stuffing. It has fruit instead. Traditional stuffing is essentially bread, salt, and butter, so it probably comes at no surprise that it isn't the healthiest food served on Thanksgiving. But this recipe is made with apples, pears, and veggies, so it's low carb. The more carbohydrates you eat, the higher the levels of sugar you'll have released as you digest and absorb your food. If you have diabetes, your carbohydrate intake is an essential part of your diet to consider when managing your blood sugar levels. Also, while fiber is one component of carbohydrate that isn't converted into sugar, both apples and pears are high in fiber. Glazed turkey breast with fruit stuffing. This recipe will serve 12, but you can use the ingredients to adjust for your family's needs as well. For the ingredients, you'll need 1 5-pound whole bone-in turkey breast that's thawed. We're using a smaller turkey breast tonight. 1 cup of apple juice. For the rub, you will need 2 tablespoons chopped fresh rosemary, 2 tablespoons chopped fresh thyme leaves, 2 tablespoons of olive oil. For the stuffing, you will need 1 small onion, thinly sliced, 1 apple, peeled and thinly sliced, 1 pear, peeled and thinly sliced, and 1/4 cup of dried cranberries or raisins. For the glaze, you will need 1 cup of apple juice, 1 tablespoon brown sugar, 1 tablespoon brown mustard, and 1 tablespoon of olive oil.
All right. Start by preheating the oven to 325. Then we're going to start putting the rub together. The rub, we're going to start with the 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and then we'll use the 2 herbs that we're going to use. Tonight we're using rosemary, 2 tablespoons of rosemary. We're also going to use 2 tablespoons of chopped fresh thyme leaves. Really, with this rub, you can be as creative as you want with the rub. If you or your family doesn't like rosemary, we were discussing that earlier, because it does have a pine flavor to it, you can use any herb that you want, or any mixture of herbs, and even any oil that you want, as much or as little as you want. This is really to your taste, okay? To get the rub on here, there's no particular way to do it. You can play with this however you want to. Some people will lift the skin and put the rub under the skin, or if you want to make it that much easier, you can just make some deep scores into the meat like I'm doing here. That way when we go to apply the rub, we can make sure that it gets into the meat and flavors the whole thing. But again, it's one of those things where there's no real science to it. It's kind of an art. And just get as much covered as you want. We'll just finish this off, just get messy. I'm going to go ahead and wash up here, and then we'll start the stuffing. For the stuffing, again, there's no strict technique here. We have an apple, a pear, we have a 1/4 cup of dried cranberries, and an onion. We're just going to mix those together. I'm going to mix them together in a bowl, but if you just want to scatter them over the turkey, you can do it like that as well. So we'll mix these together. We'll just use hands. And put that in there. It's like the cranberries are staying on the bottom. But like I did with the rub earlier, you can just put this however you want to. If you loosen the skin and you can put it under there. If you have a full turkey breast and there's a cavity, you can use that. Or you can bake it separately too, just at the same temperature. And just like with the apple technique, you just wait until they're fork tender to pull them out. I'm going to arrange it around the sides and also kind of lift the turkey and put some under the bottom too. That'll just keep the turkey a little bit off the bottom, and those bits of the fruit will be they'll taste pretty good because they'll taste like a lot more like the turkey. Then I spilled a little bit of the apple juice there, but this is the same way. We just need a liquid. Apple juice is obviously going to go well with the apples and the pears and contrast with the onions. but this could be some sort of low sodium broth as well, I'm sure would work fine. Or another fruit juice if you wanted to use that. And we'll put that like that, and that'll keep everything moist and keep the sugars in the apples from burning, and keep the meat moist as well, because this is a turkey breast, so there's not a lot of moisture inside that meat. Okay, we're gonna put this in the preheated oven. We're gonna put it in for an hour and a half to 2 hours, but follow the cook time that's on your turkey. Usually on the label it comes with a how many minutes per pound it needs to be cooked. But we definitely want the internal temperature to reach 165 degrees before we pull it out for food safety. Go ahead and put it in. We have one that's pre-cooked. We pulled that one out, and now we'll start on the glaze. The last step in the turkey, we have it out. It's cooked thoroughly up to 165 degrees internal temperature, and we're going to mix the glaze together so that we can finish this off. So we're going to start with the cooking oil of your choice. We have a tablespoon of olive oil here. We're going to use 2 cups of apple juice here, but again, you can play around with the amount of liquid and what type of liquid you use. Brown sugar, 1 tablespoon. Brown sugar, make sure that gets broken up. And then the brown mustard. We'll mix this together till it's pretty uniform. And then over here, you're going to put it in a saucepan. Right now there's about a cup of liquid, maybe a little bit more. We're going to leave this on a burner and let some of that liquid evaporate until we get down to about 3/4 of a cup of liquid. Olivia can show us that.
And once you have it reduced down to about 3/4 of a cup, you're just going to pour it right over the turkey. And you can bake it for the remaining 30 minutes or so to let that soak into the turkey.
All right, Olivia, let's talk a little more about diabetes. People who have diabetes are 2 times more likely to have a stroke than those who do not have diabetes. They also tend to develop heart disease or stroke at an earlier age than people without diabetes. People with untreated diabetes accumulate too much glucose in their blood, and their cells don't receive enough energy. Over time, excessive blood glucose can result in increased fatty deposits or clots in blood vessels. Therefore, managing your blood sugar is so important, and eating healthy is vital.
There are signs and symptoms to watch for if you think you or a loved one may be having a stroke. A large percentage of the strokes that happen are treatable with the proper care given right away. It's a matter of knowing what to do and acting. Here's what you should know. An easy way to remember those signs and symptoms is by remembering the acronym BFAST. B stands for balance, sudden loss in balance. E is eyes, vision loss. F stands for face, facial drooping or having an uneven smile. A, arms, sudden arm weakness. S stands for speech, slurred or delayed speech. T is for time. It's crucial to call 911 and immediately get to the hospital if you or a loved one thinks they may be having a stroke.
Our last recipe is toasted cinnamon walnuts. Nuts are an excellent source of protein and may lower your LDL or bad cholesterol and raise your HDL or good cholesterol levels. Like with everything, portion control is important because nuts are high in calories. They're not typically associated with weight gain like fried foods and high calorie foods like that. There is a risk of weight gain if you overeat.
For this recipe, you will need 1 tablespoon of water, 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 1 egg white, 1/4 a cup granulated sugar, 5 tablespoons light brown sugar, 1/4 a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1 pound of raw walnut halves, which is about 4 cups. You could substitute almonds if you'd like.
We're going to start by getting the liquid. Here we have some water. And then you're going to use 1 egg white. We're going to put it in here and start to whisk it. You're going to want to get some air into this so that it can carry the rest of the sweeteners. So that's enough. We're going to use 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Again, this is another one of those recipes where you can really add as much or as little as some of these things as you want based on your taste. And with the 2 sweeteners we're going to use, we have brown sugar and regular granulated sugar. You can use one of the versions of Splenda that is made for baking. You could replace all of it with that, or you could just almost like have a spiced nut by leaving these out. Any of that can work because there's almost no way to screw this up. Put the sugars in there. We're going to use the half teaspoon of vanilla extract, a little bit of salt, cut the sweetness just a little bit. We're just going to add those to the walnuts. Olivia, why don't you mix those around?
So then you're just going to mix it up, make sure that you're coating those walnuts really well with the mixture.
The egg whites are what's going to help the sugar and the cinnamon and the salt stick to the nuts here, because just like if you scramble an egg, when it gets hot, it's going to sort of form up, and that's what's going to keep all these spices and sugars on the walnuts as you bake them. Use a little bit of non-stick cooking spray on the pan, so the sugars will burn and stick if you don't.
And then we're just going to lay these out evenly on this baking pan. And then we're going to preheat the oven to 275 degrees, and we're going to bake these for about 45 minutes or until they're crisp or lightly browned. If you want, you can stir them about every 10 to 15 minutes just to prevent them from burning. So we're going to place these ones into the oven, and we already have one prepared that we'll pull out so that you can see.
Here are some tips for helping keep your portions where they need to be, in addition to planning ahead like we discussed earlier. You can use something like this, a portion plate, where the sections already dictate to you what type of serving size you're going to put in which section, because now you have to actually go through a thought process to move from one serving of something to another serving of something, rather than when you're eating it just out of a dish like this. It's very easy for one serving to become 2 or 3, and now your calories are higher than you wanted them to be. Another thing that you can do is you can just organize it based on something that you always have with you, like your hand. So we can take a 4-ounce portion of meat, which sometimes we'll refer to as about the size of a deck of cards, could also be about the size of the palm of your hand, as in the thickness of the palm of your hand as well. When it comes to vegetables, especially non-starchy vegetables like greens or tomatoes or carrots, really there's no reason to restrict those foods. So to me, I would say go eat as much of that kind of as you want, because that isn't going to be the thing that tips somebody over the line in terms of their calorie intake for the day or their carbohydrate intake at a meal. When it comes to starches, we're going to look at about like the palm of your hand, except your hand cupped. That is going to be more like what we would consider to be 1 portion size of a starch. So think rice or even a piece of bread, roundabout fits on your hand. And then when we do fats, like we discussed earlier, the walnuts, there's quite a bit of fat in these. Fat is a very high calorie nutrient. There's about 9 calories per gram of fat. There's only 4 calories per gram when we are eating protein or carbohydrates. So we're going to look at something like a tablespoon, which is about the size of your thumb, or a teaspoon is about the size of your thumbnail. And those are ways that you can use to at least estimate serving sizes so that you can stay on track with your portion sizes and not really rely on the fact that your eyes are bigger than your stomach. When eating out, you can ask for a half serving, or you can ask for have them bring a box to you right when they bring the meal so that you can portion half of it out, because oftentimes restaurant meals, in addition to not knowing exactly how many calories there are, they will be pretty calorie dense. So you can just take half of it off your plate right away and then eat the rest of it tomorrow for lunch or something. Start all your meals by drinking a glass of water. That will fill up space in your stomach and make it so that your eating can be more about enjoyment than trying to fill up. You can also eat slowly and use a food diary to keep yourself on track every day.
Thank you for watching, and we hope these recipes and tips are helpful. Back to you, Linda. We have some food to eat.
Thank you, Olivia and Sean. For more information about our Genesis Diabetes Nutrition and Education programs, call us at 740-454-4568 or visit us on the web at genesischcs.org. Thank you to all our presenters for giving us good information to digest so we can all eat healthier and, most importantly, prevent and control disease. All of the recipes that Sean and Olivia prepared tonight are listed below for you to try at home. And don't forget to add your name to the comment section so that you can be entered to win one of our Spirit of Women door prizes. We also have 10 portion plates that we'll be giving away this evening to help you with your healthy eating journey. And we will notify the winners via Facebook Messenger. Thank you for joining us, and watch for more Spirit of Women programs coming in 2022.